I found out I had leukemia the day that I went into labor with my daughter. We went into the hospital to have our sweet little baby girl, and I was told that I had leukemia, that I'd be unable to deliver like planned at San Juan Regional, and that we would be sent to Albuquerque where I could deliver our daughter and then start my treatment for my leukemia, because it was really advanced by the time that I had blood work done, went into labor, and found out the bad news. When I got to the hospital, I went to the hospital solely to be checked, and we were planning on going back to the house and finishing laboring because I didn't think I was too far dilated, but I didn't want to wait too long to go to the hospital. And got there and the nurse was like, "You're really pale, we can't let you go home." They drew my blood. Bam, you have leukemia. I don't know how long I had had it. I know that in July I didn't have it when I had had my last blood work, and I know that on October 5th when I went into labor, I had it. So there's a good chance that my daughter saved my life, because had I not gone into labor, been pregnant and gone into labor, I may have never caught it. So, and I don't, that's not something that's easily processed, so it was just kind of one of those things that my doctor came in and told me, his exact words were, "Oh good, you're not dilated any more than 3, which I said, "Well, that's not a good thing. I mean, come on, we're trying to get to an end point." And that's when he told me that my blood work was abnormal and that he thought that it appeared to be some form of leukemia. They couldn't tell me what kind at the time. And before I knew it, loaded me up, and we were in an ambulance on the way to the airport to go to Albuquerque. And I don't think the gravity of the situation didn't really hit me. I was thinking about a lot of other things, like, I can't believe this is me. I had co-workers coming to load me up into an ambulance and load me into one of our ambulances and take me up to the airport, load me onto Air Care 2, and at that moment, that's all I could think about was this is not me. I'm not a patient. I'm the nurse, and this can't be happening to me. Like, can I walk to the ambulance? I can't get on the gurney. Like, I don't belong on the gurney. But anyhow, they loaded me up and flew me away to Albuquerque, and even when I got to Albuquerque, I couldn't really process what was going on. I was in labor, I was having a baby, I couldn't think about, it didn't hit me that it was, it didn't hit me, you have cancer. It was, I'm having a baby. I couldn't get past I'm having a baby at that particular moment. Out she came, and I'm laying there and I'm looking at her, and past her, of course, is the 3 doctors that were there working on me. And she's in focus, and I'm like, okay, I had, there she is. She's so cute, and wow, that really hurt, and wow, that was no good, and all of those kind of things are going through my mind about how beautiful she is and how much hair she has. And then she got fuzzy, and I focused on the doctors that were down there, and that's the only time that I thought, I could die. I might die, because, and I knew, I didn't have any platelets, so I wasn't clotting, and all I see is doctors down there, like, sewing and stopping bleeding and talking about, well, we gotta stop this bleeding. And then they were fuzzy, and I was looking at Ansley again and looked over at Kenneth, and I was like, well, this could be it. And that's the only time I thought, I might die. But it wasn't that cancer was going to kill me. I guess if I had died from that, from bleeding out, it would have been cancer, because I didn't have any platelets because of the cancer. But that's the only time that I thought, well, I could die from this. But now that I talked to Kenneth about it, he's like, it really wasn't that bad. They were like, there's like 4 stitches and we're all done. But from my perspective, that's the moment that it was like, I could die from this. Before I got leukemia, my husband and I, we do a lot of car shows and we spend a lot of time outdoors, hiking, fishing. I hunt a lot. We like to spend a lot of time camping, things like that. And when I think about how leukemia has changed my life, I would have to say that now that we've made it through the most horrid 6 months of our very short marriage, I think that it's not going to change the things that I do. I have to definitely build myself back up to doing those things, because I never, well, I guess I did realize it, but I never would have thought how horribly out of shape and destroyed my body is, because not only from being pregnant, but from having advanced leukemia and then getting chemotherapy, and I haven't recovered from any of that, and now I have to get myself back in physical shape to go on about my life. And yes, grow my hair back for our car shows, because that's gone. But it's really changed the way I look at life. I have always said, always had the thought in the job that I have that, when your time is up, your time is up, and there's no, it's fair, it's unfair, there's nothing like that. And I've said it 100 million times to people that I work with, or people that ask me how I do my job, and that's always been how I get through my job. You need to appreciate everything that you have every single day, because you never know when you won't be there anymore. And I always said it, but I never really realized it until I was living it. So my relationship with my husband hasn't, well, it has changed. It didn't change, I guess, but it definitely reaffirmed that I knew he was the person I was supposed to be with. Of course, again, I make bad jokes to him, because we weren't married very long before all of this happened, that you didn't see this coming and you didn't sign up for it and you didn't read the fine print, because boy, nobody really signs up to get married and a year later, a year and a half later, have a wife that could be dying and leaving you with your firstborn child. And but he never, I can honestly say that I saw him shed like maybe 2 or 3 tears in the plane on the way to Albuquerque. And other than that, there was never any other option to him other than I was going to be fine. And and he never left my side. The first time that when I got admitted to the hospital down there and we had Ansley, and I was in the hospital for 34 days, and I can honestly say that he never left my side unless they took me for some sort of procedure that they would not let him stay for. He always made sure that my parents were at the hospital to take care of Ansley, even if I had to have a chest x-ray. He would call them, Nicole's having a chest x-ray, can you please come to the hospital and watch Ansley? And he would hold my hand and walk next to my wheelchair and stand outside the door while I got my chest x-ray. And he never left. He would leave for, if my parents were there to be with me, he would leave for maybe an hour to go to his grandmother's and shower and change his clothes and come back. And other than that, he was with me. We lived in that tiny hospital room for 34 days after Ansley was born. And it just showed me what an amazing man he is. And I knew that when I married him, but it was one of those things, he had never really even held a small child, let alone a brand new newborn. And after watching me give birth to her in the horrible way that it turned out and the way that I looked after I had her. I mean, I am a nurse and I saw myself for the first time after I had her, and I had so much bruising on my face, and the whites of my eyes were red, and my chest and my back and everything. I basically turned into a giant bruise from pushing, and he saw so many horrible things, and it never, I mean, he never faltered. He was right there. How did I feel about losing my hair? Well, I was proud of my hair, and my hair was, you know, something I changed every month, something that I thought made me me. It made a statement, just like everything, you know, everything else about my appearance is genuinely who I am. I'm kind of, you know, very outgoing and not like everyone else, and not that being bald made me like everyone else, but when I started my chemo, and of course my doctor said not everybody, but most people lose their hair, and I knew that. So I, every morning after my chemo, she told me, oh, it'll take, you know, maybe a week. So every morning I'd get up and I would go into the bathroom and I would tug just a little bit. Oh, it's gonna stay another day. Okay, sweet, it's gonna stay another day. And the day that I went in and went like this and it came out, I said, all right. I asked my husband, can you go somewhere and buy some clippers, because it's going. I'm not gonna let it fall out. I am making the choice to take it all off before it falls out little by little. And it was something, you know. I of course made a huge joke of it, and we shaved it into a mohawk first and fixed it all up, and you know, it was hard then, you know, but it wasn't as hard, in all honesty, as it is on me now that I'm not sick anymore. I'm fine, and now I have, and it's getting better because now I can, you know, style my hair and look a little crazy with it. But when I was bald, people knew I was sick. Even people that didn't know me knew I was sick. If I went out somewhere, people would look at me like, oh, she's sick. And I give you this, oh, bless your heart. And it makes me crazy. The phrase bless your heart makes me crazy. And you could just read it on people's faces. Oh, she's bald. She must be sick. Bless her heart. And so, yeah, losing my hair. The advice that I would give to family and friends that have someone in their life that is going through a similar situation is do your best not to treat them like they're sick or that they're any different than they were before. It was really hard for me for people to treat me like I was any different, because to me, having cancer was just having cancer. It didn't change the person that I was, and it didn't, you know, I had an illness. I wasn't my illness, and I didn't want people to, you know, coddle me and treat me like, you know, anything other than what I always have been. And I've always been very, very strong, and I've always really, it disturbs me to show weakness. And so everybody treating me like I was sick, even though I was very, very sick, I didn't want people to treat me that way. I wanted people to treat me like I was normal old me, and everybody gets very serious when something like that happens. And it was really hard on my parents, for sure, that I never lost my just a little bit of a strange sense of humor, I guess you could call it, disturbed sense of humor. And I continued to make, even at my absolute worst point and my most sick after my first round of chemo, I made jokes, bad jokes, and you know, but it's how I get through things, making disturbing jokes, I guess. Oh, advice I would give to other cancer patients is definitely not to get caught up in the why or the why me, or you know, it's a natural thing to think and a natural process to have, and it's like a grieving process that you have to go through when you find out something like that, excuse me. But you can't dwell on any of it, you know, you can't dwell on the why, because there's no answer to why, it just happens. And you can't let it beat you. You have to just do everything that you can to stay positive, and it's hard, but you have to. I continue to tell myself, you know, this isn't going to kill you. I'm not going to die from this. And I'm very lucky that I didn't, you know, I didn't die from it, and I am now in remission, and everything, hopefully, and knock on wood that it doesn't come back. I'm gonna get through my 5 years without a reoccurrence, and I'm gonna be officially cured of it. And I just know that, you know, I was really sick after my first round of chemo. I got really, really sick, really septic, high fevers and stuff like that. And being a nurse, I laid there and I knew how bad it was, but I was like, this isn't gonna kill me either.